Okay, and we're live. Welcome to Love and Money Secrets TV, and we're going to continue our reading of the Mitochondriac Manifesto, a great book by R.D. Lee, How Nature Nurtures the Body and Technology Torments It. We're continuing on today on page 29. So if you want to follow along, page 29, you pay a biological toll eating foods out of season. Humans are the only organisms on the planet that can radically change the world around them to suit their every fancy. Probably the second most important change we make today after shelter is with our food. Westerners import fruits, vegetables, and high-carb fruits and foods from distant lands so we can eat them in our fall and winter. But just because we can eat fruits and vegetables in winter doesn't mean we should. Nature had a plan when it designed our metabolism around light cycles of the season. In a word, it's energy balance. When the body has too much energy coming in or going out, both create problems. So our biological programming has an elaborate mechanisms to match energy intake with energy expenditure as coupled systems. So in practical terms, that means you can safely eat fruits and carbs in the summer when the sun emits a lot of ultraviolet. However, when you eat those same foods in winter, they detune your mitochondria and promote weight gain. The difference is when you eat sweet fruits and starchy vegetables in the summer, the biological consequences of eating those carbs are offset by strong UV light that minimizes fat storage and charges up the water in your body. So I'm going to pause right there because this last sentence is really important. So the biological consequences of eating those carbs are offset by strong UV light that minimizes fat storage and charges up the water in your body. So bear in mind that when we eat fruits and vegetables, a large percentage of the mass that's inside that fruit or vegetable is water. I don't have to tell you that watermelon is primarily water, right? We all know that. The name even suggests it's a melon that's filled with water, right? It's a very hydrating type of fruit. We know that coconuts are very hydrating. In fact, most fruits and vegetables are very hydrating because they have a high water content. Make no mistakes, you're taking that water in and it's affecting the water inside your body. Your body's water is going to entrain with the water that's in the content of that fruit or that vegetable, and vice versa. They're going to affect each other, right? And that's going to benefit your body. There's a lot of electrolytes that we find in fruits and in vegetables, which is why it's so important to eat live food, because processed food doesn't have water in it. It has very little, if any, water in it, and it has synthetics, which your body doesn't know what to do with those synthetics. And guess what the body does when it doesn't recognize something as, prima matter, that it's not organic matter, and it is a synthetic, it treats it like a xenoestrogen. And so that's how you end up with an abnormally high amount of estrogen levels when you're eating a lot of processed foods, okay? So let's move on here. It says that's because summer programming is designed to maximize instant energy while minimizing, did you hear that? Minimizing fat at a time when you're likely to be more active and there's more food around. On the other hand, winter biorhythms do the opposite. They make less ATP, more heat, and more fat when you're designed to be in survival mode and less active. So you're actually losing mitochondrial efficiency and retaining more calories when you eat sweet and starchy foods in the winter. Most of us then erode mitochondrial function even further by chronically avoiding cold exposure when you need to be exposing yourself to cold during the winter months, which adds insult to injury. So one of the changes that I've begun to adopt more into my everyday lifestyle. Now, mind you, I guess I'm a little bit of a slow learner because I've been following Dr. Jack Kruse for maybe about 4 years, there, give or take a little. And it's just in this last year where I do subject myself. And even though I might take a jacket with me, I will actually on purpose not wear the jacket and allow myself to get cold. Now, prior to that, I have been subjecting myself to cold during the winter months here. And when I do my bike rides, and on purpose, I will still ride my bike, even though I know it's pretty cold. It's pretty freezing, actually, relatively speaking, for California weather. That's beach weather. But it can get pretty chilly here. We can drop down into the, it's not uncommon for us to be in the 50s, the 40s, and sometimes during the winter, it can drop into the high 30s, which is absolute. Anything in the 50s or below is freezing to me because I'm used to a more Mediterranean California climate. But I will, even though there are some days I'm like, no, it's too cold to go riding. But there are other days that on purpose I will go because I know that subjecting myself to that cold is good for my body. It's the equivalent of cryotherapy, or what Dr. Jack Kruse talks about. It's cold thermogenesis. So it's a good thing to subject your body under that type of cold stress because there are metabolic processes that would not take place if it hadn't been for that. All right, moving on. So, to observe this mistake of modern living against the wisdom of nature, have you ever noticed your craving for fruit goes down when it gets cold? When it gets cold out, except for those sweet tooths among us, while your craving for fatty food increases. That's nature's way of telling you you're not supposed to be eating fruit at that time of year. The energy density of fat is better for generating body heat and maintaining your mitochondria. So on the flip side, have you ever noticed your craving for fruit increases for no apparent reason when it gets hot, when it's hot out? That's because your body knows the photonic energy. Photonic energy is light energy. Contained in fruit is now matched to your local light environment, which means mostly the latitude that you live in, partly the altitude, as well as cloud cover and temperature. At the same time, you're not in the mood for fatty foods as often during the summer because they contain more energy than you need. It's funny that that as I look back and I reflect on my life and my childhood, I noticed that during the summer, one of my favorite things about summertime was the abundance and the plethora of fruits and vegetables that we would have, in my household. And my mom always bought plenty of watermelon, cantaloupe, honeydew, green grapes, red grapes. I loved nectarines, peaches. We had plum trees and lemon trees growing up, and orange trees. And there was, of course, from March, April, and May, we would have strawberries. That's the only, that's strawberry season. We know that in California because there's plenty of strawberry farms here, just like we have groves and groves and groves of lemons and oranges and limes. Well, we have all the different, fruit stands come out for strawberries in March, April, and May. And, you could pay $5 or $6 for like a little basket like this at the supermarket. But if you go to one of the fruit stands that they have here that the farmers and the ranchers have, well, then you can buy a whole, a whole flat, if you will. I think there's like maybe 8 of those little baskets for like $10, $12. It's not very much. And they're bigger and juicier and sweeter because they've come straight off the farm and they've just been freshly picked without having to be, at the supermarket, they have to pick them a little greener because they have to withstand the time of transport and all that kind of stuff. So I just remember, it was just awesome. The only thing I wanted to eat for lunch and for dinner was fruit during the summer. And then, of course, once school would start and it would start to get a little colder, then it's not something that I thought about. I just naturally gravitated towards the warmer foods and so forth. And I still loved the fruits and the vegetables, eating carrots and celery. Oh my gosh, the crunch. I used to love the crunch. We would take celery and put peanut butter. The only way I would eat peanut butter, because I didn't generally like peanut butter. I only liked it if it was on celery. And of course, but my mom would not give us chocolate just to eat peanut butter. So I later discovered Reese's Pieces, and that's the only other way that I would have peanut butter. But I used to love that as well. I don't know how many of you can relate with that. How many of you like to eat your celery with peanut butter or peanut butter with, a little piece of chocolate? It was awesome, right? But getting back to the fruit and the vegetables, how many used to love to eat kind of large volumes of fruit and vegetables just till I was satisfied? I was never a kid that would eat till I was stuffed because I was always taught to pay attention to my body. And so I would eat till I was satisfied. I've never particularly liked the feeling of being super full. And it's very uncomfortable. And I don't understand people who eat, they just stuff themselves until they're like, they can't take another bite. That just is not a good feeling state. Not to mention, once I started learning more about human physiology, anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, organic chemistry, and all those different things, I learned that, the human stomach has an incredible capacity to grow and expand and to adapt. And so even someone who's had 9/10 of their stomach removed, in a 6-month period, you can grow back your stomach, which also accounts for why people gain weight who always eat till they're full, because you're always stretching your stomach to its maximum capacity. So then that's triggering cell generation to expand and grow the stomach so that the next time you go to eat, you have more capacity. So now you're eating larger volumes, which if you're the same height, then guess what? The only way you can go is sideways. You're not going to grow taller. You're going to grow heavier, right? And that's why people who eat till they're stuffed always tend to gain weight, because the capacity, the volume is increasing. And so you're eating more volumes of food. Something to think about. Would never tell you what to do. I'm just telling you what some of the facts are. So the seasonal switch that's supposed to activate winter programming in us is lower levels of UV light hitting our eyes and our skin, as it does when daylight diminishes after summer, which is about this time of year because we are now in October. Weak UV makes us gain weight with the very same programming that fattens bears and furry critters in the fall so that they can prepare for winter scarcity. Unfortunately, modern living creates an infraradian conflict when photoreceptors in the gut receive summertime food signals from imported foods at a time when the eyes and skin get a low UV winter signal from your environment. So modern consumers assume incorrectly that because a fruit or carb is available in the grocery store, that they can eat it and its nutrients will benefit them the same year around. Yeah, we override our natural biological cycles and functions, and what it talked about here, not only in this chapter, but in the last chapter, we talked about the infraradian rhythms and how critically important. I never even heard of the word infraradian until our last page 27 and 28, where he talks about that. So not true. Eating a banana, pineapple, or even sweet potatoes in winter represents a photoelectric mismatch that metabolizes those carbohydrates using the wrong seasonal programming. That's mostly what causes slower metabolism. Imagine that. What you eat is causing a slower metabolism because you're eating it out of season. So that's mostly what causes slower metabolism and weight gain in winter, faster metabolism and easier weight loss in spring and summer. Quantum biology trumps conventional nutrition beliefs. Adding fuel to the fire, processed foods made from carbs, for example, sugar from sugar beets and wheat flour, amplify this effect because the whole food ingredient is refined and concentrated in manufacturing. At the same time, complementary elements that help you assimilate nutrients properly are removed. Isn't that horrible? They're actually removed, such as fiber and moisture content. Absolutely incredible. On a footnote, just FYI, I'm always sharing, teaching, and training people about the fact that it's so important to drink 50% your weight in fluid ounces of water. I just had a gentleman this morning that I spoke to who is interested in getting started on the patches. And I told him it's really imperative because he was asking about, if these patches, if the stem cell activation, we're not allowed to call them stem cell activation patches any longer because the FDA doesn't like that. So let me correct that to pluripotent cell activation patches or just cell activation patches, phototherapy patches. Nonetheless, they're going to activate your original master blueprint, right? And it's imperative that just a general premise of health and well-being is you must drink 50% your weight in fluid ounces of water. He said, I drink 110 ounces of water every single day. I said, you must weigh 220 pounds. He goes, exactly. He goes, I know that's a tenet of just health, no matter what happens, whether you're an Olympic athlete or you're someone who's trying to repair something in the body. And I said to him, you are ahead of 99.9% of the people that are out there, because most people don't know that. So it's very important because when you're only 2% dehydrated, guess what happens? Your proteins fold. They literally fold in half. And when you reach 8%, well, let's go back to the folded protein. When proteins fold in half, they don't work. Just as if I were folded in half, first of all, you wouldn't see me on screen because I would be bent over because I would be folded in half. Wouldn't be able to dress myself, couldn't feed myself, couldn't go to the bathroom. I would be pretty much severely disabled. And that's exactly what happens to your proteins. They don't work when they're folded in half. They need to be standing tall, straight, and erect. At 8% dehydration, guess what happens? Your DNA, it starts to unravel. It literally starts to come apart. It starts to unravel. The telomeres at the end of each DNA strand start to break off. The little boots, the little myelin sheath, the little fatty covering that are like socks that are at the end of those telomeres, they start to disintegrate. That's why they break off. It's a mess. 10%, you lose your mind. Why? Because your brain is a very hydrophilic, very water-loving organ. It's primarily water. So as soon as you start to get dehydrated, a lot of things inside of your body start to shrink. Starting with the head, the brain shrinks. Your eyeballs get compromised. Everything, it starts to travel down. Men will notice that they have issues with certain performance things having to do in their body because, again, things shrink inside the body. Women will also notice different issues with their cycles and so forth because think about all the water that's in your blood and having to do with your menstruation, your menstrual cycle. Your ovaries are primarily made up of water. They do have mass, but they're primarily made up of water. They're tiny little delicate structures too. So it's very important that you drink 50% your weight in fluid ounces of water. So that concludes this section. When we return, we will come back to the food chain is founded on photosynthesis. We'll resume on page 31. Today we read page 29. And so just want to show it to you right here. If you want to, I really want to encourage you guys to pick up this book, fabulous book. It'll probably, I have no idea how long it'll take us to get through the whole thing, but we're going to continue to share, read, review, and apply the principles of the Mitochondriac Manifesto. Thank you, R.D. Lee. I've already reached out to you. I look forward to having you on soon where we can do a deeper dive and talk more about the things that you are sharing with us and teaching us here. As always, make sure you like this video. You get to see me as a 4 eyes. Kind of look like a teacher, don't I? Anyhow, if you like this video, please like this video. Please take the URL, share it on your Facebook profile, your wall, your pages. Have a discussion with your friends and family about this because this is very important. Please hit the notification bell so that every time we have a new video that's uploaded, you'll be able to watch these. I do have a Mitochondriac Manifesto playlist. So you'll see from the very beginning, moving forward, you'll see each time I put a new video up. I don't have it in a particular schedule. You'll just have to come, you'll have to get a notification every time I upload a new video, and you can watch out for the Mitochondriac Manifesto or any other content, which is all health related, as you're very well aware, with a twist, or maybe more than a twist, with, let's say, with a fray of the metaphysical and spiritual aspects of our well-being, because it is all connected, as you're aware. All right, my friends and gems, ciao for now. If you're a Dr. Joe Dispenza student, please let me know in the comments below. You can save this to your YouTube channel in your own playlist if you choose. If not, you can come back to the channel here and find that here under my channel. As always, you can always circle back by coming back to Love and Money Secrets TV, or if it's easier for you to remember my name, DameLillianWalker.com. Put that in your URL and it'll take you straight to this channel. All right, ciao.